Hi, everybody. I'm Charles from Boost. In this session, I'm going to talk about sub-items and how do we use, what can we do with sub-items within Autoboost. So first of all, what we're trying to solve in the sub-item sphere is the ability to perform automations on the sub-item level that are not available in native Monday. So from sub-items to parent, item, from item to sub-items, and within sub-items themselves. Let's get into it. So first of all, go ahead, get acquainted with the relevant recipes under Autoboost. So we can see right here that we have relevant ones that say that they apply the result, the formula, the value to sub-item columns. Now, every time you see when a column changes, you can also use this as a sub-item trigger. How? Because when going into one of those recipes, we can immediately see that when we click on column, we can either choose a parent column or slide down and choose a sub-item column. All right. And the result will be applied to sub-item column. Now, how do we reference the system to take information from the sub-item level? Good question. The first thing you want to make sure is that you, under your avatar, have access to, within the Monday Labs, to the developer mode. Why is this? This is because we need the column ID. We need to tell the system to which cell to go. So we can see under here in the sub-item, this is the sub-item column ID. Now this one is a status, so pretty straightforward. It's not always straightforward, right? Column ID numbers, blah, blah, blah. Or status, blah, blah, blah. Now, how do we reference the system to take those values? I'll show it in a minute, but if you get baffled at any part of this, you can always go to how to use Autoboost. So moverboost.com/how to use Autoboost. And then under here, you have the sub-item values where we explain the entire thing. What's important to understand is that this is kind of the basic structure of how do we tell the system to go and take info from sub-items. So you just put brackets, sub-item dot column ID, close brackets. This will take this value. Let's see this in action. Let's imagine I want to take this date. So whatever one of those, take this date when it changes and put it in the parent, in the item level. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm checking out what's the column ID here. I can click on it and copy it, then going to the relevant automation, relevant recipe. So let's see this one. So when sub-item date changes, when I change this date, apply formula. What's this formula? It's just sub-item dot relevant column ID. So take the info from this column and putting it into an item level column. Let's see this in action, not Gen 10, but Feb 7. So when this changes, take the value from this column ID, right, by referencing by the sub-item dot column ID. There we go, putting it into here. Good. Now, the other way is a bit trickier. Why is it a bit trickier? Because while every sub-item has only one parent item, right, a parent item can have more than one sub-item, like in this case. So when we apply something from parent to sub-item, its natural kind of desire is to apply this value to all of its sub-items, unless we tell it otherwise. Now let's see this in action. So one of those will be when I change the status on the, no, let's do, first of all, this one. When a status changes to apply to all, just put apply to all. Okay, sorry, just put apply to all to the sub-item status. So I'm clicking on this. This will load the relevant options to sub-item status. Okay, so let's see this in action. When I click here, so when parent changes to apply to all, I want you to say apply to all on all these statuses. Let's see this in action. Boom. Nice. Now, what if I only want to put it to X? How do I do it? So going back to the automations, let's check out how do we do it. So when status changes to apply to X only, apply a formula. What will this formula be? This formula would be to check, to put an if, right? We explained it in another video, but you do the basic function of if. So if the subitem status, and this is its column ID, whether it says X, Y, or whatever, only if it's X, then return apply to X only. If not, then return what was there in the first place, in the status, in this status. Okay, let's see what does this mean. So if I change this to one of those, go ahead and check if this, so if subitem dot column ID is something X, then put apply to X only. But if not, return the old values that was in here. Okay, let's have another look so we make sure we fully understand this. Apply to X. So when status changes to apply to X, check if this is X. If so, say it's applied to X only. If not, return the old value in the status column. Good, let's check this in action. So applied to X only, goes ahead and checks in this column ID if it's an X. If so, puts an X in here, we'll see it in a minute. If so, return, there we go, return to apply to X only, nice. And for instance, if we do apply to Y only, again, it will check in here who's the Y, when it will find the relevant one. So if it's a Y, return this. But then it also checks them both. And this is, I'm not a Y. So give back was already here, right? Good. Another few cool things. So what if I want to take an actual formula column, okay? Actual Monday formula column, and take the result of it and put it into a parent one, a parent item column, but just a standard column, so a text in this case. Let's see this in action. So first of all, I have just if the budget is under 100, put under 100. If it's above, put over 100. And here I have a budget, okay? And one of the automations will be like this. I don't know if you saw it in another video, but it's available in other videos to see the to get the calculated value of formula. And when we use this wording, so get the calculated value of, it means we refer the system to an actual formula column, okay? And we really like it because it allows us to see the result before and to actually do all of our experiment on the formula without needing to redefine it. Then when we see it's okay, we say, okay, when subitem date changes, for instance, get the calculated value of this formula column. So clicking on this will open a list of all the relevant formula columns that we have available. So here the subitem formula, and set the result to wherever I want, either subitem column or on the item level. Here it's the item level. Let's see this in action. So let's do this to say 700, right? But the trigger was when date changes. So when date changes, 8th, take this subitem formula, so over 100, not the under we see right now, and boom, change it. Nice. All right. Another thing that we need to cover is those abilities. So we have what is called the subitem summary, right? So whenever we have a column in here, so for instance, the budget, we can click on the 3 dots and do show summary on parent item. And this gives us kind of an aggregation of the info from the subitems. So in here, we can choose if it's a number, we can choose it's a sum, it's an average, whatever it is, right? And both for instance, date, I can say, is it earliest to latest, and so on and so forth. So for each sub-item column, we have the relevant aggregation form of it. Okay. Now, Autoboost refers to those columns as just standard columns. So it's really cool because we can use info from the sub-item level on the item level as well, even without going through this entire thing, by just referring to those kind of columns. So let's see an example. We can say something like, we would like when this column changes to give us an info from the sub-item to the item. But what does this mean when the sub-item summary changes? It basically means that the sub-items change, right? So let's have another example of those. Let's do this. When sub-item status changes, okay? I want to take let's do earliest date. And how did I take the earliest date from this sub-item summary? I just went here, and you see sub-items. I took the date column, so it's this guy right here, and I say show the summary and took the earliest. Let's put another date. Oh, I already did it, so the earliest is here. And I want to do when status changes, okay? Let's do something more relevant. So when the date changes, right? Because I want to know when the date changes. What's the earliest? I always want to know the earliest. So if I have a change in here, I still want to know what's the earliest point. So when this changes, when sub-item column changes, right? When column changes and pick the sub-item date, take this, the earliest, and put it in here. Why do I need to take it actually from here to here? Because let's imagine that I want to do some automations around it, okay? Or to do some calculations around this. This is to Monday a mirror column or something of that sort, right? You can see that clicking on here, it says customize mirror column. So it won't allow us to perform any automations on it or to notify something when something of this sort happens or to perform any kind of relevant stuff on it. It just shows it. But I want to do stuff with it. Okay, I want to put a notification, for instance. So automate. Let's do this right from the beginning. So where do I have it? Did I do it? Let's take it from the top. Okay, so boost, auto boost, and we're looking for something like this actually. Okay, a very basic one, because I can do when sub-item date changes, apply a formula, again, not a real formula, but take what is called sorry, I'll just move this right here. Take I called it earliest, take earliest, and put it in the date column, which is earliest. Okay, putting myself back here. Now let's see this in action. And we'll top it with explaining why by actually showing why. So let's give it a round. Let's take this one. When sub-item date changes, I want to show it here. So here now the earliest is the 19th, but I have a new item. It's not the 19th, it's the 3rd of Jan, okay? So when this changes, take earliest from here, put it in here. Very nice. Again, from here, let's put something from before. So des 6. This shows the earliest is des 6, and take this value and puts it here. Very nice. Let's top it by showing why, by actually showing why. So let's say I want to do a notification. Okay, so when date arrives, but this date doesn't let me choose the middle one. It only let me choose what I've put there. Okay, so I couldn't have built an automation to say like notify when this date comes. Now I can. Now I'll get notified when the earliest of all of those will arrive. Okay, and those sub items automations, again, have a look, available for you in a lot of ways, really powerful ways to allow you to do stuff like when sub item is created, take info from parent, put to subitem column, take info from subitem, put in subitem, perform formulas like actual formulas and take the value from formulas from subitem and putting it into the father. So another video of how to use Autoboost. Let us know if there's any questions, any more feature that you would like, or anything that you would like from us at all, and we'll be happy to oblige. Good luck.